Elon Musk and Tesla had a pretty good week, but this time they didn't really do anything. Things just kind of happened around them. Elon Musk didn't tweet anything particular. There were no numbers coming out of, Tesla factory. He's just kind of everything that came out worked out pretty good for Tesla most of the time. A lot of it is coming out of Beijing Auto Show, and yes, most of the manufacturers who are presenting stuff there are presenting it for specifically for Chinese market, but a lot of them didn't. It was kind of for the entire world. And Tesla, even though they were presenting there, they kind of came out on top just because nothing that was that impressive. There was a lot of interesting things, but nothing specifically that impressive. Now, I was supposed to be at the Beijing Auto Show, but unfortunately my visa hasn't been approved until even now. The Chinese consulate still have my passport. So we're going to talk about that. I also released more videos than I ever have in 1 week because I thought I would be in China. So I made all kinds of videos for you guys. So I released them. So we're going to talk about a few of them, including my interview with Zac and Jesse that's been getting a lot of comments. So we're going to talk about it all coming up next. Taking over the world. Electrifying the world. If you're watching me live on Patreon, welcome. Thank you so much for supporting the show. This is really, really important to me because of all the travels that I do and equipment I have to buy and all that stuff. So thank you so much. If you're watching me in the replay on YouTube, welcome to the show. I hope you subscribe so you don't miss anything moving forward, but most importantly, become a part of this community. If you do want to watch me live and participate and talk about it and just get all of the extra information and videos ahead of time, you can go here and support the show, patreon.com/e4electric. All right, so interesting week, right? So Elon Musk and Tesla had a pretty good week, yet it had very little to do with it. But first, let me talk about a few videos that just came out that I've created. First one was with Zac and Jesse. They've actually, I think this is the best interview I have ever done, and not so much because it was my interview, it's because of the guests. And these guys, first of all, they're awesome. I love watching their channel. Like, I try to watch all of their Tesla and electric car related channels, because it's kind of part of my job. But these guys I watch just also for myself. I really enjoy it. So they were my show, but I've decided instead of sitting there and just agreeing on stuff, I decided to, because they're huge Tesla fans, right? Probably more than me at this point. I just thought I would run some of my frustrations that I had with Tesla by them and see what they had to say about that and explain. And I thought it went really, really good, just judging by the comments that we got. And we got everything possible, right? From Alex, you're a traitor, how dare you, you're so stupid, you don't understand anything, to all the way to, oh, but you're the most objective channel out there, and everything in between. Now, I like the second one, actually, I have to say, because I do really try to be objective. I have my, it's funny that one of the friends of the show, literally we just had a phone call before I went live, and I don't want to name who he is just in case, because it was a private conversation, but I've gotten this before. He was like, Alex, I just watched the video of Zac and Jesse, and like, where do you stand on Tesla? One day you're like, Tesla roof, Elon Musk, everything's great, Tesla is the best. And another day, you're like, I want my money back for autopilot. Elon Musk is, Donald Trump on Twitter. And I have to say, I had to tell him, this was a private conversation, but I said, you know what, that's like, I have an internal struggle about this. I do believe that Elon Musk is a genius and one of the most important and influential people in the world. And Tesla is the best car out there, period. But there are some things that they've been doing that I really don't like. And, this is what I would call objective reporting, right? I think this is my service to you guys, and this is what this channel is about, that I'm not going to be on the side of one brand or one person all the time, or always be against them, right? You guys also know both of my cars been Tesla. I haven't driven any other car except for Tesla for the last 5 or 6 years, except for, sometimes on road trips, as you know. And so you know, this is, and so we had a great conversation, and they're like the best people to talk about it. You know, I asked them about my frustration about, you know, Elon Musk tweets and about the autopilot and about a lot of other things. It was really interesting to go back and forth with them. I think this video is, I mean, I'm looking at my stats. I think this video is going to be the most watched video on my channel ever. I don't mean by like views, I guess. It's because that's a solar roof video, really. If you haven't seen the solar roof video, check it out. It's still being featured on my channel, but it's about how many minutes watched. I think once you started watching this video, a lot of people just couldn't stop. I rarely rewatch my videos just because I make them all the time, but this one I rewatched, and I thought that was a really cool interview. So I'm gonna post that in the description of this video, but you can just really see it in my Saturday interview series playlist on the homepage of my channel. And you know, I'll continue reading the comments. I don't think I've read all of them yet, so I'm definitely I'm definitely enjoying it. But at the same time, I have a lot of interesting guests coming up. So Zac and Jesse were just here. John LaFleur from the VP of product at Workhorse. We're gonna have a great conversation with him. I've talked to him before at CES Vegas. I'm planning on being at CES Asia in June, but again, I need to get my visa again to get the process going. So hopefully I can. And you know, Henrik Fisker is going to be here on May 12th. We will probably pre-record it before that, but those of you guys who are Patreons, you will definitely get to watch it live and hopefully, you know, be able to ask him questions, and he'll hopefully, I gotta tell you, when I interviewed him at CES, he was probably the most genuine person that I've talked to as far as giving the genuine answer. So I really hope it's going to be the same type of interview, but please join me on Patreon so you can do it yourself as well and participate. All right, so let's go back to Elon Musk and his good week. Well, shall we go to the Kanye West story? He kind of told the world that he discovered Tesla and discovered the future, even though we're like 5 or 6 years into Model as being really made. And again, I got a lot of slack, but I had people who were like, I subscribe to your channel because you treated Mr. West really poorly, and I'm like, Mr. West, first of all, Kanye, how about that? I don't know who calls him Mr. West. But I know, like, people confuse this with me saying like it is. I know it's good publicity, and many of his followers, and he has tons and millions of followers. I'm sure they either weren't aware or really weren't paying attention. So him saying this, they're now going to pay attention, and now they're going to think it's cool. Now maybe they'll shop for an electric car next time they're shopping for a car, and consider the green energy alternative. So that's great. I just thought it was funny that the guy who always brags about setting the trends, is like 6 years behind the trend, but thinks that it's still like he is totally ahead of everyone. So I thought it was funny. Now, of course, he was in the news later because he was wearing the Trump's Make America Great Again hat, and I don't know if you noticed, he's a black guy, so a lot of people were like, well, how does it work? And he got a lot. Yeah. Anyway, so he completely erased any conversation he got started about Tesla, but it was definitely kind of funny. But nevertheless, good thing. I there's no doubt about it. This is definitely a good thing. So I don't want to take that away from that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk, and I'm kind of blinking out about so many different things that I kind of wanted to mention just based on that. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this video on this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla, and check out the discount code in the description of this video so you can save a few bucks next time you're shopping for stuff for your Tesla at Evanex. So thank you for them to supporting and sponsoring this show. And by the way, another video I had this week was, and I'm also going to link it in the description of this video, I interviewed, and I know it wasn't Saturday, but it was an extra video that I came up with for you guys this week. I interviewed the CEO and founder of Wonder Capital with a U. with a U. And we talked about, how you can save money on driving electric cars on solar panels. But I also talked to him about his products, kind of one of the reasons I had him on the show. And they also sponsored that video, which is really cool. And about how they have this investment unique proposition on how you can invest into green energy without having to invest, through stock market or whatever. And so this is the way to make money on other people's solar panels, if you will, other businesses using it. And it's very interesting, definitely very interesting. You don't have to be an accredited investor, so that takes a bit of an effort, and not everybody could qualify. But check it out. I'm going to link it in the description of this video. So that's another video that I had for you guys this week that I'm really proud of, and it was kind of a bonus content, if you will, for everybody who enjoys the channel and just enjoys investing money at the same time. So this is a good crossing between those two passions, maybe, or interests or hobbies, however you want to call it, that you have. All right, so back to Elon Musk. I'm trying to think about where do I start as far as I don't know why I'm blanking out about, like, because I as I said earlier, the news had nothing to do with him per se. But at the same time, he came out on top. There was one news actually that I probably should also mention. That they had this guy, Jim Keller, who was the head of a VP of Autopilot, and he's the third guy who was heading the Autopilot in like 18 months, I think. And before that, as you know, they used Mobileye, which they also had a kind of a breakup with. And so he left. He was an AMD first before Tesla, and now he left for Intel. And a lot of people are kind of concerned, right? Because, he was there for, I think, long enough to obviously, we're all seeing some really good results of Autopilot improvement finally, right? Something really above 1.0 version. But at the same time, it's a concern, right? Why are people leaving in general? Because I've been defending Tesla here, right? I was just saying, hey, listen, it's a Silicon Valley company. People come and go. The competition is really high. People trying to poach people all the time. But I got to tell you, this is a little too much for too many people going through the same position. And that they're not really replacing him with another person, which also means that maybe they weren't expecting or prepared for it. Obviously, that tells me that it was probably his choice and not theirs. So they're taking two guys. One was Andrei Karpathy. He was, I believe, a director of AI software there. And another guy who was working closely with Jim Keller. So they're going to kind of replace them together and split responsibilities. Some people might say it's for the best. Some people might say that, hey, listen, this could be another sort of hit that Tesla will take in this technology. But I definitely am a bit concerned though. But who knows? Maybe. Also, how many people are going to leave with him? Usually, people take their teams with them a lot of times. Maybe it's for the best in terms of maybe the new guys have a better direction or a fast track. Though they look like they were on the right track already. So let me know. Let me know what you guys think about it. Is it a problem? Is it not a problem? Is it, definitely let's talk about that. And I'm interested in your comments. All right. So the reason Elon Musk was in the news is because of this guy who has like 15 shares of Tesla. And he submitted a proposal about removing Elon Musk as a chairman of Tesla, citing, actually, this wasn't that unreasonable. I was just surprised that, someone with 15 shares of Tesla can actually have his proposal actually put up for the vote, and it will be in June. But the reason he is citing is that a lot of companies, especially publicly traded companies in Europe and some companies in North America, are starting to move away from kind of a CEO and chairman type of position. They're trying to make sure that their chairman is more of an independent person. And he's basically saying because of Elon, being a big part of obviously SpaceX and Boring Company and other companies, that this could be a conflict of interest. Now, I don't personally understand or even think that it's that big of a deal. But and the board made it very clear that they're not interested in. I think they're encouraging people not to vote it. As a matter of fact, to vote against it. And I think that's what's going to happen. But I think two things I wanted to mention about that. One is based on a lot of people's comments. They were like, no, they can't fire Elon Musk. They will destroy Tesla, you know. But I don't think those people understand how it works. So what this proposal is not to remove Elon Musk as a CEO of Tesla at all. That's a completely different thing. As a matter of fact, they just gave him a kind of a 10-year extension, if you will. The chairman position is completely different. And as a chairman of the board, that's a board of the corporation. CEO is a chief executive officer. That's a completely different position. So even if he was to be removed as the chairman, actually not much will actually change. He will continue to be the leader and the CEO and a face of Tesla. So I think, I mean, I'm kind of sad to see those comments sometimes, because I feel like that shows that people just want to argue or troll my channel or any channel really out there without really understanding what this matter of the subject of the matter is. So just to be clear, that would, even if that happens, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It is actually a pretty reasonable proposal, but it's probably not going to happen. But the reason I wanted to cover that is because, you know, this brings up more people who are doubting, or at least suggesting that maybe at this point, now that the company has grown so much, and now that SpaceX and Boring companies also, those companies have grown so much that maybe Elon's role may be just not exactly the perfect fit for who he is. Some people argue that he can still be the face of the company and be the innovator and engineer, and that's absolutely crucial. I mean, I don't know whoever would disagree with that, but I don't really see why. But I don't see why not bring somebody who is a CEO type of a guy and does CEO type of things, and just have that part run for Elon. And, you know. So and the very first guy that I've heard say this was Roger Atkins, who was a guest on my show. He is a brand consultant and one of the biggest electric car bloggers out there, especially on LinkedIn. I think he's the biggest. But here's what he had to say, and this is how it kind of, this is the first time I've heard it.
There needs to be a change. And dare I say this, because I know you might not agree, Alex, and maybe a lot of your viewers won't. I think maybe it's a time for Elon to become the chairman of the company and take a lot less of a hands-on role. He's doing an amazing job with SpaceX, and I'm sure that's where his kind of true passion is, certainly where his skill sits. And I think in some senses it would work better for SpaceX if he spent more time there.
You can agree or disagree with him, whatever, but I'm just saying the whole proposal about, you know, possibly removing Elon from the board is continuing that conversation, even starting that conversation for a lot of people. Hey, you know, did Elon Musk overstay his welcome, or did he spread himself thin and all of that stuff? And I think this conversation is going to continue happening. When they have the vote, that's still going to be in the news, if not the biggest news about it. And, you know, I think, I don't care if he's the chairman or not, actually, to be honest with you myself, but I do care if he's the face of the company, and I do care if he is actually doing the right thing for the company, and I don't always think that's the case. So maybe this conversation can have an effect on him, maybe adjusting things a little bit, maybe being a little bit cautious about or conservative about what he says or does on Twitter, about maybe the estimates that he gives us in his quarterly reports and interviews and stuff like that. Because I mean, obviously, again, if you're rooting for electric cars and green energy and Tesla in particular, it would be nothing really without Elon, and I think we kind of all agree on that. So let's see what happens. But I thought it was an interesting news, and the reason I'm saying that it's still good news for him is because it will probably adjust his attitude a little bit, and it will only show that the board has full confidence in them. They're going to overwhelmingly vote against that, and he'll become even more of an Iron Man as far as the leader of the movement and definitely the leader of Tesla is concerned. So that's why I'm spinning it as good news. but something that hopefully brings something to his public behavior, I guess. I'm talking about him like he's peeing in public. But anyway, you know what I mean. Let's move on because, well, okay, so I guess there were some not such good news because like the app was down, the Tesla app was down, and I know people made a big deal out of it because, well, you know, you can't drive your Model 3 anymore because you know that you can only access it with your phone and stuff like that. So two things. First, you don't just access Model 3 with your phone. You're supposed to have your card with you, and that's a backup plan. So if you have that card, which you do when you bought the car, you got it. You can access the car. Also, you don't access the car with the app where you need the actual internet connection or the app having to contact the server. It's a Bluetooth connection, communicates directly to the car. So only if you logged out of your app, that's the only time that you won't be able to get into the app and communicate or open the car and drive the car with your phone. But again, you still have that card. So just but it was down for like an entire day, and some people even experienced it the day after. Now I'm actually, before I went on the air, I look at my Facebook group for Tesla owners that I have, in a lot of people reporting that their Slacker account is down, and we don't know if it's Tesla's issue or Slacker's issue. But so another technical issue that they had to work through. Okay, semi-truck actually had a new order, and this one is very interesting because it's not a big order, it's only 5, but it's by the company called City Furniture, and it's a huge order for them, right? Because like when UPS or whatever, Pepsi order like 25, 50, 100 trucks, that's not a really big of a deal for them. They operate thousands of trucks, semi-trucks, and this is just a little test for them. For the City Furniture Company, they're much smaller, so 5 semis is a huge order for them. They have to really, really put their trust into this product and to this company. So when companies like that commit an order like this, that actually might even be bigger news because that's a much bigger commitment to Tesla and to this truck. And so that is definitely good news for Tesla. Let's move on to Ionity. That's a network that is a supercharging network, if you will, fast charging network that they're building in Europe. And I reported the week before that they've finally opened up their first location in Germany, and it has a capability of charging at 150 kilowatts. Now, there's no car out there right now, including Tesla, that can actually take that charge. The first car that's going to be on the market that's going to be able to do that is going to be Audi e-tron. And that's not going to be on the market until the end of the year, really, the beginning of the next year. Now, this network is supposed to actually have a capability of going all the way to 300 kilowatts. So obviously, they're building it out for the future. They're planning to have 100 locations by the end of this year, and I believe 400 locations by the end of next year. Or maybe I'm shifting it maybe by 1 year. So 100 by the end of next year at 400. But they're definitely trying to catch up with all of the companies that are going to be producing these cars in Europe and being able to take the fast charging. Now, I think this is great. There were other news with Electrify America and Porsche network and all of that stuff that came out in the United States, where we have now going to have alternatives to Tesla superchargers, especially for us who are interested in maybe buying Jaguar I-Pace and a Porsche Mission E and so forth. But this network is building in Europe. Now, there are 4 companies who invested in this network, which I think was really, really smart. BMW, Daimler, that's a parent company of Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen Group, that's also parent company of Audi and Porsche, and Volkswagen, obviously, and for some reason, Ford. Now there are reports that other companies want to get in on that. They want to become also investors, and one of them is Tesla, which is kind of interesting. So they might not only have their own fast charging network at some point, but also co-own, invest, and be a part of other fast charging networks like this one. And I think that's very smart of them, and I think it's very, very smart of any company that invests. Now, I should have, there's about 3 or 4 other fast charging networks that are kind of coming up in Europe, and some companies also, other manufacturers, some of them are the same, invested in them. So that's a great idea. Europe should really start getting covered by these fast charging stations relatively, decently probably within a year or so. And that's where all these cool new cars are going to be coming out. And I think there's going to be a perfect match, almost, hopefully a perfect match for that. So that's another thing where Tesla kind of got into on this news. By the way, the other videos that I've released was about Byton in Europe. The video that I did on Saturday, before yesterday, my interview with Byton's CEO and Byton's VP of Marketing, and I hope you guys watched that. A lot of interesting information. But this video I've created for you guys, just everything that I've seen, my thoughts about the. This is my third time with the prototype. My thoughts about that, my thoughts about where they're going and what the new things that kind of came out, why they're doing this for Milan's design week rather than, you know, Beijing Auto Show. Well, they're also in Beijing Auto Show, but like why they've done this European premiere at a design week. And I thought that's a really interesting idea. That's actually their VP of marketing. And I also talked to one of the YouTubers, her name is Sophia, that I met at the event, and I think we all, as journalists, stayed in pretty much the same hotel, so it was cool to hang out with them. But she has her own channel, and I was kind of surprised to find out that her channel was about race cars. I mean, gas-guzzling race cars. And nevertheless, she was there covering the electric car, which was really cool. And actually, she featured me on her channel, and that you can see in my community tab. So if you want to check that out. But it was interesting to interview somebody who loves the cars, loves gas cars, but at the same time is open-minded and offers some interesting ideas about, you know, what would take for people like her to actually consider electric cars. And I thought her answer was actually pretty reasonable and exactly what I think most people's concerns are, and that big wall that's still between that 1% of us who believe in electric cars and own them, and people who just don't care for them yet. So check out that video. It's also on my channel. I'm going to try to link to it as well in the description of this video. But more news about Byton came out this week, because they have announced that they're going to unveil a sedan. Don't forget, right now they've only unveiled an SUV, so it was kind of a product, not a company. But now that they're going to be unveiling a sedan, they're becoming more of a company. As a matter of fact, if I do make it to CES Asia, I will cover that for you. I will have that footage for you. And also, it looks like they'll let us tour their factory. They're moving forward with their factory. That's obviously very, very important. And what's even more important, they've announced a partnership with the Ford Group, which is a Chinese-based automotive company. And they're going to be working together, and they're going to lead their second round of investors, and kind of work closely on the second round. This is something that hopefully they'll get in the next few months, because that will be a big deal that will allow them to move forward with production, with the factory, with a lot of other things. So I'm really rooting for them. It looks like things are going well. So this is a really big partnership that they've scored. So definitely kudos to them. Here another picture of that. As you can see, it looks like it's not a handle. It's not a luggage. It looks like it's a LiDAR that's kind of built into the roof, which is good. I mean, I've always thought that LiDARs is something that should be added to every car. I know Elon Musk disagrees, but this won't hurt. And this picture that they've released, I don't even know what it is of, to be honest with you. And I've heard other people say, let me know in the chat room or in the comment section. Let me know what you think, which part of the car this was. You know, so anyway, I'm excited. I'm going to try to get my Chinese visa this time ahead of time. And well, I couldn't get it ahead of time this time around, because I did go to Milan and I needed my passport, so I couldn't leave it with the Chinese embassy. Otherwise, that would be a disaster. I wouldn't have gone in either one of those. I'm going to get my visa. Hopefully, I'm going to start the process soon. I'll be there to report on that. So I'm really excited. Another video that I've posted for you guys is from the event that took place about a week ago on Saturday. This is Eli, my buddy Eli. He has his own channel called My Tesla Adventure, and that's where he documents the experiences that he creates for Tesla owners. And this is not his first one, and he's planning more. You know, as you probably know, if you watch my channel, we got together at the Kettleman City supercharger, one of the largest superchargers in the world. pretty much the largest in the United States. We hung out there. I did some interviews. It was fun with Eli and other people, including my girlfriend, actually. Blah blah. And then we drove down to Ivory Beach, like one of my most favorite cities, which I absolutely love. And was basically spent an entire day with other excited Tesla owners. Now I had to drive home, unfortunately, because I had to do this show, Sunday show, but they stayed there for the rest of the weekend, and from what I understand, everybody had fun. Really nice crowd, really nice people, and check out that video on my channel. It's also been featured on Tesla Ready today. One of the videos featured on the story, so you can go there, click on the article, and my video is one of the videos featured there. So that was pretty cool. I had my run-in with a Dyson dryer at the supercharger location, which I always found it funny that Tesla paid money to Dyson, which technically partially should go for them to develop their electric car. That's I made a separate video. I think I'm going to post it on Patreon. I think I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'm going to post it on my Patreon, how, like, you know, when you dry your hands with this dryer, it blows everything just from your hands on your crotch, really, which I don't think is a good solution or the look. So let's see. Let me get the chat going here, actually. Ron says, Elon just regards LiDAR as a crutch. I don't think he is against the technology itself. Well, if you can explain a little bit more. I mean, I've heard what Elon said about it. I think just they've already committed to just a radar plus cameras, and they believe that they can achieve the full autonomy just with those. At that time, LiDARs were still pretty expensive. They are still pretty expensive, but they're definitely getting down there in price, and they're not as bulky anymore. And I think some of them are no longer like rotating that thing around. So they're definitely, at that time, that wasn't maybe a great decision, and they had to make one. And yes, LiDAR has its own technical issues and stuff like that, but nevertheless, it has a lot of advantages. And if you can have that, once it's down in price, once it's pretty reasonable, I think it's going to be, I don't know if I still have that picture. I think it's going to add. It's definitely not going to hurt, I'll tell you that much, but it's definitely going to add to some situation, because, as you know, LiDAR kind of gives you a 3D, pretty precise image. So if you need to determine whether, let's say, a person is facing one way or another, which can determine whether they're just about to cross the road or they just already done crossing the road, that's pretty important, as Uber found out the other day, right? Not to make light of it, but you know. So I like the fact that they're gonna have it, and if they find a useful, good way to add to the technology, then I'm all for it. But I just think Elon, when they had to make that decision a few years back, LiDAR just wasn't a good solution, especially cost-wise. So that, I think, Ron, why that is. And there was another question. What is going on with, I don't even know who was asking it. I think Ben was asking, what is going on with AP? Who's going to fix it? Ben, please clarify that, because I don't know if you're talking about something that happened recently or not, but just please clarify it. By the way, thank you guys for those who are supporting me on Patreon. I know this chat is not moving as fast, but that only gives you exclusivity to get your thoughts out and have them stay on the screen for a while. And thank you for supporting the show. I mean, without you guys, you know, it would be much more difficult to make it. So if you want to support the show, and you know, if you also want to see things that people on YouTube can't see, like, for example, I only stream on live on Patreon. You can ask questions, and I always answer all comments in posts on Patreon's webpage, on my page on Patreon, where I can't really do that anymore on YouTube. There are just too many of them, and I'm having a hard time keeping up, and I probably will be able to see and reply and read less and less of them. But for my Patreons, absolutely guaranteed to do that. All right, let's move on to things that are kind of came across from, well, before that, let me just do this one story, because Target announced that they're partnering up with Electrify America, the fast charging network that's going to be built by Volkswagen as a punishment, really, for the Dieselgate. But $2 billion, I believe, the total they are directed to invest, but also with, I think, ChargePoint and Tesla. So 100 more Target locations are going to feature those chargers, which I think is great news. And I think we have a Target literally nearby me here that already has that. So good for them. All right, Beijing Auto Show, let's talk about that. Here's a car that came out at Beijing Auto Show. This is a Mercedes-Benz Maybach. And, you know, obviously not too many people are in the market for this car, but the fact that this car is going to be electric and Mercedes-Benz is even moving this car into the electric drivetrain and being fully electric, that's a big deal. This is what it looks like inside. Definitely, you know, it's one of those things like Rimac stories that I do, right? Well, how many people are really going to buy or can afford a Rimac or will even see one in person? I will in August. I'll be doing a story on them. Already had it planned once they're actually going to be here in California. So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know who that guy is, by the way. But this is a cool video. And but it's a statement, right? It's a statement that, hey, even the technologies, the big technologies that we can always afford, and they can probably, people who are buying them and not necessarily need or want the electric car technology, they believe that's the right technology to make this product better. It's great. I think this is a heartwarming story, if you will. Let's see. Ben says Tesla Autopilot person in charge left. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So there are two, as I mentioned, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's, you know, being an issue of working with Elon. I don't know if it's just unlucky. I don't know if it's the challenge. I don't know what it is. I don't think anybody knows. I'm gonna assume that Elon has something to do with it, but at the same time, we don't know what it is. This guy who just left, from what I understand, his employment history tells us that he doesn't really stay in one place for too long. So maybe it's just the wrong guy that they picked, and who's picking the guys? Definitely he has been there long enough to sort of set the stage and put down the new technology and maybe new process where we already seen the results, and everything else has to be built on that. One of the guys taking over has worked with them closely. I believe they were working together even from Apple days when they were there. So I would assume he shares his vision, technology, and so forth. But nevertheless, every time somebody leaves, you know, they take some people with them, or the people who are staying are not as happy with the new bosses as they were before, or the process has to change. So I can imagine this not slowing things down a little bit. So that's, you know, but as far as what's happening there, I really don't know. This is something that I wish maybe Elon would, or his PR department, which I don't even know if they have, they're just judging by all the stuff that's been going on. I would prefer if they would be able to spin it a little more, at least try, you know, to spin it, rather than just kind of have it happen and have people do all the stories and then just kind of chase it afterwards. But I mentioned this before. I don't know what's going on with their PR department, if they even have one, or if it's just Elon tweeting. That's their PR. Not a bad PR, but still can be much better. Now, I think one of the biggest unveilings that we've seen is the BMW iX3 at the Beijing Auto Show. And this is what it looks like from the back. Now, a lot of you guys said, oh, you know, this is really boring, and the grill and all that stuff. Listen, I've said it many times. Boring is good. Boring is good right now. When we're trying to convert people from gas cars to electric cars, we've tried making electric cars look different, right? You know, they try to make electric cars different with their i3, which they're pretty much going to discontinue now. And then Nissan Leaf, the first generation, and, you know, even Chevy Bolt, you can say, that, and I'm forgetting one of them, right? I'm forgetting some other ugly car, or a Prius, obviously. So no, let's not do it anymore. Let's just tell people that, listen, your BMW will look exactly like your BMW always looked, except for it's going to be better because of the technology inside of it, okay? Because let them improve their looks every time they produce a new model, and their overall design changes or whatever, however they do it. Let's not make a special design for an electric car anymore. They obviously can do it. So let them just go with their normal. This looks like their X3, right? With some modification, even had the damn grill still. No attempt on any kind of, you know, a little attempt on make it a little bit better aerodynamics, but nevertheless, it's just not. I like this. And by the way, the car's going to have a little bit over 200 miles. I know they said 250, but guys, don't be fooled when they announce this stuff. They don't know. They're using all kinds of different metrics. When it comes down to EPA rating, which is still pretty generous, I have to say that it's going to go down to about 200 miles. Now, by the time they make this car in 2020, is that going to be enough? They're probably going to be behind, you know. But anything over 200, I believe, is a reasonable attempt on this, and most people will find it useful in their day-to-day life without really having range anxiety, especially if the fast charging networks are going to be growing. By the way, one thing I'm just going to go back really quick, if you don't mind, on the Zac and Jesse interview. I mentioned something there that also people made a lot of comments about, because I mentioned that I drive a gas car on my road trips, because I give an example, when I go from San Francisco San Francisco Bay Area to LA, in the gas car, it takes me about 5 hours if I drive like about 80, right? Which is actually relatively slow on a Highway 5. But if I take my Tesla, that takes me 8 hours. And people go like, wait, where do you get the extra 3 hours? Well, here's the thing. When you go in 80, and if I don't go 80, then add another hour, because I'm going slower. But if I'm going 80, the consumption of electricity, and this goes the whole thing to the range, right, and the rating, that goes down, because they're rated for going, I think, 60 miles an hour, and so going 80, that uses up way more energy. On top of that, a lot of times I drive at night to avoid traffic, so it's cold. Now that uses up even more energy. It's windy on the open road, and there's some really, really like flat valleys there. So it's windy. It has to find the wind. I'm running not air conditioning, the heater and my lights and so forth. So I have to say, when I charge at 100, let's say, miles EPA, that can get down to about 50 or 60 miles with all those conditions. So really, I have to charge at least twice, but most of the time 3 times, especially wherever I get, in Los Angeles area. I don't have destination chargers a lot of times. I stay at a hotel, or even if I stay at a friend's house, they don't have a Tesla charger. So I have to pretty much charge right before I get to my destination. So in the morning, when I need to do my business and travel and visit places, that I'm relatively fully charged. So that's 3 times. And a lot of those stalls are pretty slow. I mean, relatively slow. Normally it takes 45 minutes to just charge, and if it's slower, that takes about an hour 15 minutes. And I'm not, but if there's a line, not as often, but there's sometimes lines, then it takes longer. So that's where those 3 hours actually come into, because it's because of the conditions that EPA rating, it goes to crap, right? So I have to do supercharge 3 times. When I was going from Avila Beach and back, I had to supercharge twice fully. And again, with me knowing that I have a charger here at home, but if I didn't, that would be a 3rd time. And that's from Avila Beach. That's not even from LA. So anyway, just wanted to mention that part. But back to my story with the BMW. So just don't be fooled by them saying they're going to have 250 mile range. It's probably going to be about 200 or so if we learn anything from all of these unveilings. Now, Nissan has also unveiled their car. That's pretty much a Sentra. That's fully electric. It's called Sylphy. It's only going to be available for Chinese market, and I don't even know if they're willing to bring this to US. I think they are not. I think they're just going to stick with their Sentra here. And this has been a pretty common theme at the Beijing Auto Show. It is a Chinese show for Chinese market, but a lot of cars that are being unveiled there is actually for their market only. I mean, I'm not really sure why they don't want to bring it to United States. It's, they have the technology. Obviously, it's the same technology they have in Nissan Leaf, but at least they're going to be selling it in China. So maybe it's a test market, maybe it's the delay. But another one is Honda EV also. It's called Everest, and I think it's under a separate brand that's called Everest. And it's a pretty decent looking one. I don't think it has an impressive range, but also for China only. And Honda, out of all companies, damn, if you got the technology, just show the rest of the world. You're like so behind on electric cars. Why don't produce it for the rest of the world? But no. Now, now this is not from Beijing Auto Show, but this is something that got, I guess, leaked. And this is from Volkswagen. Now, apparently, as you know, Volkswagen really has a new lineup of electric cars. I like them. They're called IDs, whatever you want to call it. There's ID Buzz, there's ID Cross, and there's ID Vision, which I actually really like the look of it. It apparently doesn't even have a wheel. The steering wheel, that is. It does still have 4 wheels. And I like all of them, but this one, the one that's leaked, I guess this is going to be their first actual production car, and this looks very close from what I understand. It's called Neo. At first I thought, well, look, well, how is it going to succeed if it doesn't have any Z in the name? But somebody told me that I just need to, turn it around and becomes a Z. Touche. I forgot who mentioned that. But yeah, so that looks like it's definitely going to compete with, obviously with a Model 3, but it's hatchback, so maybe Chevy Bolt and so forth. And I forget the range, but I think it's pretty decent, also like 250 miles or something like that. Definitely over 200 miles, which again is acceptable. This picture was leaked and published. It was published by Bild magazine. I believe it's a German magazine. So here's another one. And this is under the brand name Sol, and I believe this is also Volkswagen's deal. Their joint venture, it's also going to be for China, but the interesting thing is this one's going to be under $20,000, and it's only going to have a 100+ mile range. So not too expressive, but again, another brand, another joint venture, another electric car, but it's only for China. But again, I think it looks pretty decent. Ben says it looks like California needs a lot more superchargers. Yes, I mean, I've been saying this for a while, and especially with Model 3s. I mean, I'm telling you, Model 3s are really, really, really driving around here. Yesterday, I saw 2 within literally 20 seconds, right? So I basically, if I'm driving around normally, I see at least 1 almost guaranteed, but now I see like 2 a day. Model 3s out in the wild, driving by regular people. So I imagine we would need way more superchargers than we have right now. And they've kind of been behind their own plans with superchargers, as you guys know. So that is also a concern. Now, here's another company that I'm excited. I'm excited about their looks. I'm not excited about their plans as much. So this is their H500 series. It is a hybrid. But nevertheless, this is a company, this is a design company, most known for their designs and working with Ferrari. They're just doing their own thing. I think this is with another Chinese company, corporation with another Chinese company. I just forget their name. Anyway, I forgot their name. So this is their hybrid car, but they also came up with, it just looks like a full-size SUV, K350, and this is going to be all electric. And again, targeting Chinese market at first, but yet another player on the scene, and looks like they're pretty serious. I mean, we've seen their designs from the last couple of months, but now they're actually unveiling cars. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what happens with them. And finally, here's another one. It's called, it's from Great Wall Motors, company that we've never heard of, but they have 3 SUVs that are rolling out in China. This one's called Way X. Somebody suggested that Tesla should sue all these companies that are coming up with X models, Model X's, right? Decent looking car. I think one of the things that they're featuring here is that it's a wireless charging. If you look at the car closely, see that little thing that comes up, kind of almost like a little, I don't know what to call it, but anyway, it kind of looks like it's going to lift up the car, right under the hood, in between the front wheels. So that's going to come up and charge the car wirelessly now. So I really don't. So to me, wireless is always like you roll over and nothing happens except for you get charged. This one almost looks like, well, I don't even know if there's a plug in there or not, but it kind of still has to dock, if you will. They're saying that they're able to retain 99% of the electricity that's going through it. So there's not much of a loss. But again, it could be probably because you need to have that. So if you want to have this in your garage, let's say, right, it's probably going to be relatively expensive to install versus like something that BMW and other cars have, as inefficient as it may be, but it's just a pad that you lay out. So exciting technology, but I'm not really sure if it's going to really work in this case. There's another picture of the car here, which looks pretty good. I like their color. And yes, this one also is equipped to have level 5 autonomy. And as you can see, the wheel will actually retract into the dashboard. That's pretty cool. I don't know what's going on with a hologram. It would be cool if they have it. Excited about the graphics, but this is just poorly photoshopped. I think, yeah, it's pretty poorly photoshopped. But nevertheless, I'm excited about them being on the market again, mainly for Chinese market right now. But from what I understand, they are planning to expand for the rest of the world at some point. We don't know, right? We don't know what's going to be happening. No Chinese company that makes cars in China has really expanded for the rest of the world. From what I understand, it is tough because the regulations everywhere else, including like California and so forth, are pretty harsh. So you have to do a lot of things and a lot of extra safety measures and so forth in order to be able to export that car or any car from China to other countries. I think Byton is going to be successful at it because Byton is not just a Chinese company. They also have a major presence in Germany, major presence in the United States, and they've been promoting the car all over the world. You know, I've been so far at 2 out of 3 of their events. One was in Las Vegas at CES when they had a world unveiling, and then last week, a week before, when I was in Milan for their premiere, European premiere. So the only one I didn't make it to was the one that's kind of winding down right now in Beijing. But again, I don't think they've unveiled anything specifically in Beijing. It will be in June at CES Asia when they will unveil their sedan. And I'm looking forward to that, guys, for sure. All right, so don't forget to watch the Zac and Jesse interview. I think you will really, really enjoy it. I think it's, again, a great conversation that I had with them. Check it out. I'm going to put it in the description of this video when it's on YouTube. Sorry guys if you're watching it on Patreon, but either way you can definitely get in there and get on my channel, and all of those videos are posted up there in the sections. I have like 3 main sections, right? Daily news, Saturday interviews, and the Sunday recaps, kind of a hangout. Thank you guys for those who've been my Patreons. I can see we got some conversation going today, so that's great. That's why I get to, projecting. If you want to be part of the conversation, again, this thing is going much slower than before, so your comments definitely get to be seen and your name get to be seen for much longer. You're a much bigger part of the show. So if you guys are interested in supporting the show, please do so. You can do it at patreon.com/E4Electric, and I'm trying to look for the slide for that, but I couldn't find it. Oh, never mind. But another reminder, John LaFleur, VP of Workhorse, is going to be here next Saturday, and it's going to be live. And then Henrik Fisker is going to be here a week before, after that, May 12th. That will be pre-recorded, but when we are pre-recording it, I believe it's going to be like Friday afternoon, a week before that. I will stream that here on Patreon. So if you're a Patreon, you will be able to ask Henrik questions pretty much live. I think that's exciting. Anyway, patreon.com/E4Electric. Again, I really encourage you guys to join us. Really, really helps me out and keep going with this, and maybe going full-time one of these days. I have to say, if I can do this full-time, I am going to be able to do so much more for you, and maybe even open another channel. So if you want to support that, I would definitely appreciate it. Yeah, this has been a busy week. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be making a major change in my life to be able to do this full time. I'm going to make an announcement probably in the next couple of months, but this is going to be really changing my life in a big way. So by the end of this year, that's when I'm going to be targeting to try to do this full time. That way, I mean, I only have so much, time off I can take off of my day job, so I can't go to as many of these events as I wanted to. If I'm full-time, if this is my main gig, I will be able to do so many on-location videos and bring this to you guys live, and most importantly, be there. As you know, a lot of YouTubers don't do that because they're either concentrating mainly on Tesla, or they don't have a budget, or there's just very few of us out there who just cover electric cars. So I hope you guys can become a part of the solution there. Again, thank you so much for everybody who's been contributing, Ron and Ben and others in the chat room, for watching it live and contributing. Thank you so much, guys. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we're back to daily news. I'm excited about that. Check out Zac and Jesse video that I had, of course, already posted. My Tesla adventure and my Milan report, all of that is in the description of this video. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.